Here we are, episode 300 of the Tennis Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Nick Emel. Somehow, through sheer force of will and an audience that miraculously has never filed a cease and desist, we have made it to this milestone. If you're new here, well, weird choice starting at 300, but hey, no judgment. And if you've been with me since the early days or joined somewhere in the middle of this absurd journey, thank you, genuinely, from the bottom of my nerdy little heart. You've kept this show alive through many ups and downs, and I'll talk about those in a moment, but today's episode is a little different. You'll hear a series of segments, each with a familiar voice, a longtime guest Sidekick host, returning to revisit their time on the show. We'll talk about our favorite moments together, behind-the-scenes chaos, and yes, I've dug up some gloriously out-of-context quotes. I'll also be reading some listener survey responses, your favorite episodes, guests, moments, and maybe, just maybe, I'll get a little sentimental, but don't worry, it's temporary. But before we get to all that, I wanted to provide a brief history lesson of how we got here to episode 300. It was the summer of 2018, almost 7 years ago, in a world that never even heard of a coronavirus. My longtime friend, coworker, and actually my boss at the time, Brandon Coffman, agreed to start a podcast with me. Brandon and I didn't know what the fuck we were doing, which you will know if you listen to those early episodes. Like so many other podcasters out there, we were flying by the seat of our pants, learning how to record and edit and market our podcast as we went. But we finally figured things out, and we got into a nice groove. Our listenership started growing. Weirdos out there like you, yes, you, started listening to Tennis Podcast. We developed a loyal niche audience. We started getting offers from podcast networks and even joined one. Anyone remember the Blue Wire days? We started getting sponsors. We launched a Patreon, which we now brand as Tennis Pod Plus. Shout out to all of our members out there. Thank you. Both Brandon and I felt really good about the trajectory of Tennis Podcast. Things were only going up and up, but then all good things come to an end, as they always do. As many of you know, Brandon became sick. He decided to step away from the podcast at the end of 2021. I wasn't sure what to do, but eventually we agreed that I should continue the show and replace Brandon temporarily with a different recurring guest each week. As you might expect, after Brandon left, our listenership, well, it took a dive, to be blunt. People had come to expect Nick and Brandon together, me leading the show, telling all the good jokes, bringing the research and the flavor, and Brandon was there to laugh and nod. Okay, I'm kidding. Brandon was much more than that, and when he left, it was hard to keep our momentum going. Really hard. Fortunately, I have some very good friends who were able to step in when Brandon stepped away. You know them. Buster, Alex, Steven. These three have been lifelong friends, and it only made sense to bring them into the fold. Then there's the others I only met because of podcasting. Dr. Shiloh, Brad Choma, Ann Keller. There's many others, I'm not going to list them all, but I appreciate every single one of them. With their help, Tennis Podcast was slowly able to regain the momentum we lost after Brandon stepped away. But in December 2023, things changed again. See, Brandon had been sick for a long time, but the plan was always for him to eventually return. But in his final months, I did not realize how much worse his situation had become. So I was caught way off guard when I got the news that he had passed away. Maybe I should have seen it coming. Maybe I was in denial that things were really that bad. For whatever the reason, I didn't see it coming. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Talking about it now hits me again. So now Brandon's gone. Not just as my partner in Tennis Podcast, but as one of my best friends for the past decade. Now what? Do I keep pushing forward with Tennis Podcast? Do I stop? What's the right thing to do? Eventually, after talking to others that knew Brandon as well as I did, I decided to keep going. Brandon would have wanted me to keep going. It wasn't easy. I think about Brandon every single time I research or record an episode of Tennis Podcast. This was our show. Never would have started without him. But again, like I mentioned earlier, I had some amazing, funny, smart people that were willing to step up and help me keep going. Dr. Buster was there too. And so now, with my Sidekick hosts, and most importantly with you, the precious listeners, we have made it through trial and tribulation, heartbreak and triumph to this landmark 300th episode of Tennis Podcast. I'll say it a lot today, but thank you. Over the last 7 years, Tennis Podcast has been one of the only constants in my life. And I've gotten to know many of you. What a hell of a ride it's been. And what a hell of an ass you have. So now, with my sappy history lesson out of the way, let's talk again about today. As I mentioned before, I've recorded individual segments with your favorite Sidekick hosts. In each of those segments, I'll also read what you had to say in our recent listener survey. And since Brandon can't be here today, I'm going to interject some of my favorite Brandon moments throughout this episode. So whenever you hear this noise, That means a Brandon blast from the past is about to enter your ears. Some of these you may have heard on a past Best of Brandon episode, but others you have not heard since these episodes originally came out years ago. So now, without further ado, let's dive in. Up first is my favorite weird old man Canadian, Brad Choma. He's the host of his own podcast, Doomsday, History's Most Dangerous Podcast, but he's also a recurring guest sidekick host here on Tennis Podcast, and as you're about to find out, he has said some weird shit here on the show in the past. Let's get to it. Brad Choma, you are up first on the 300th episode of Tennis Podcast. How do you feel being here?
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
You know, I didn't plan to mention this, but talking to you now just made me think, before you ever came on the show, it was early on in the post-Brandon days. And for those first 164 episodes, you were just a listener. Yeah. And here you are now on one of the most important milestone episodes of the show.
Dreams can come true, people.
And nightmares, for being honest.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I mean, it's like you're just a fanboy, like so many of your fanboys, and then one day the Beatles ask you to come up on stage and hit a tambourine, and that's what I've been doing.
A lot of people tell me it's like that.
Yeah.
Brad, I have in front of me a little brief history of Brad Choma on the Tennis Podcast. Are you ready?
No, let's do it anyways. When's that ever stopped us?
Well, exactly. The very first time you were ever on the show was which list were we talking about?
Oh my God.
It was yours.
It was?
Yes.
Then it wasn't top 10 reasons to listen to my show. Yeah, what the hell did we talk about?
You brought that up and I refused to do it.
I don't remember.
Okay, well, think about your brand.
Disadvantage.
What's your brand?
Oh, wait. Excuse me. Was it the 10 most painful things you can do to the human body?
No, you did bring that. This was the episode number 164, the most disaster-prone states in America.
Yes, that was good.
Now, I'll be embarrassed for you if you can't get this next one. The most recent episode you were on. Before now. Just a few weeks ago.
Sure. Yeah, go on.
That's it? You're not going to guess? You don't
I remember I was a little concerned about it until you finally soothed me and said the magical words, don't worry about it. It's simply the 10 plagues.
The 10 plagues of Egypt, everybody. He got it. He's not completely worthless like so many of my listeners email in and ask, is Brad good for anything? Does he do anything? Or is he just bad? And you just prove them wrong.
Blood rain and crickets and what was it? Was the other 3 days of darkness? For all.
Ass boils and herpes. All of that. All right. And the most recent list that you brought to the show. You mentioned it earlier.
It was the 10 most painful things that can happen to the human body.
That's right. Episode 216.
Also a good time.
A good time as in you and I had a good time doing that?
Yeah.
Because that's news to me. The last little tidbit here is my favorite episode, my personal favorite that you have been on. It's kind of similar to the most painful bodily injuries. It was 201, the largest organs in the human body.
That was the weirdest one, actually. I always like to learn something on this show. It's one of my favorite things about the show, even though you make me feel like crap about it. But that was the one where, if I'm not mistaken, by the time you get to like number 4 on the list, your fattest organs are like a quarter of an ounce. It's just like these little floaty things.
Yes. Like the pituitary gland or something, or the thyroid was on the list.
Right.
And that's like nothing.
A quarter of a hacky sack.
Yeah. Maybe a halfie of a hacky sack. Okay.
A halfie?
That's also the episode, I believe, I could be mistaken, but I believe that's the one where we talked a lot about Ratso. May he rest in peace. And
that might have been it.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Bye, bye, little Ratso. We love Ratso.
You were 5,000 candles in the wind.
Ratso was Brad's pet rat who he cried and made a scene at the vet when it died.
I made an incredible scene, and it was such a pleasure to retell that story.
I stand by my original analysis, which is Ratso is the greatest name for a rat ever named. It's the only good thing you've ever done is naming that rat.
Thank you. All
right, Brad, we're going to move into this next section, which is out of context quotes that you have said in your many appearances on Tennis Podcast.
Okay, go on.
So I'll just remind you, you said these. on your own free will. I wasn't there making you say anything. I didn't have a script for you to say these things. You said these things off the cuff, off top of your head. All right? I just want to make that clear.
All right, let's see what I did.
The first one, this is very Brad. The ocean collects people and then kills them.
Well, okay, it's pearls of wisdom, it is true.
No lies detected.
No, keep going.
Quote, how old do you think these butts were? So, Brad, go ahead. Give us the context for that quote that you said.
I'm assuming we must have been talking about Buster. Like Buster as a youth.
I actually don't know. I didn't write down where these came from, but that could be. All right. Next quote. I'm very happy to Photoshop anything into the moon that any of your listeners might enjoy. Why did you say that?
I don't remember. You know what? We were probably talking about different governments thinking about like lasering logos into the moon.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right.
We just took it off, and then I just generously offered to do that for people, and nobody took me.
Nobody took you up on it.
It's all right.
Yeah. All right. This next one might be my favorite. I'm getting so much nostalgia talking about all these billions of dead bodies. And I know that's true.
Oh my God. And you don't remember what episode that was from?
I purposely did not write down where these came from so that we could both be equally confused on why you would allow yourself to say this publicly.
It sounds like a t-shirt. It sounds like I need to stop and take a look at myself. Why would I say that?
No, the next one might be better. There's 3 more. Quote, blah, 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 I'll eat your boils.
Oh, you said
it had to be the plague episode, right?
No, it was the plague episode.
Blah, blah, blah. I'll eat your boils.
I'll eat your boils.
Brad, a serious question. I want you to really think about this before you answer. How much money would it take for you to eat a boil off a person's body?
Hold on a second. I got to check what my mortgage is. I would eat a boil for my mortgage. How about that? Before I check.
Are you being serious? If I presented to you a festering boil on my arm and said, eat this and I'll pay off your mortgage, you'd do it?
What does fester mean? Okay, is fester mean like it's moving independent, like a jiggle or something? Is it like going, like it's getting
I think
ready
it's just like yellowing. Maybe festering is the wrong word. It's like I don't know. Take festering out. It's just a boil. You could cook the boil.
Oh, you didn't
You
say
can prepare
that.
it. Yeah.
So if I just froze it off you and then just like a pill.
Oh, God.
How many boils do you have? Because I'm thinking I don't care. I don't care how. I don't know. I don't care if ice will make it so that I can't come back to Canada anytime soon. If you've got a bag full of boils and a bottomless pockets, I will figure out how to get into your state, and I will just underground railroad my way back home.
But they're not on my back.
Money.
They're on my gooch.
Gooch?
Gooch boils. You know what the gooch is in Canada, right? You guys talk about the gooch?
I think we're thinking taint up here.
Yeah. That's because you guys are fucking tainted. That's why you guys are so misguided. You need America to correct course for you, to protect you from yourselves.
So how many gooch boils are we talking?
Hundreds.
Oh, good Lord.
All right, 2 more quotes for you.
Please.
Quote, you were basically through an almost perfect horse.
Oh, God, I know the context to this.
I think I do too.
Were we talking about exploding horses in the streets of London?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
And how they would literally just sit there like your boil and fester and just go, and then if you just stopped walking for any amount of time and said, what's that doing? And then it just popped and washed over you from head to foot. Yes.
For the listeners that might not know what we're talking about, the horses would die in old-time London, and no one would clean them up, and then they would just kind of bloat to the point that they'd eventually explode. But we should probably stop because I'm getting really fucking horny.
Okay, well, hold on. Before, just to help you do whatever it is you're going to do with this information, that's only partially true. They did clean them up, but what they did was, because there were so many of them and they were so difficult to move, they would wait specifically until after they had festered and exploded and half melted, because it was easier to cut them up then.
That's
and
right.
most of the water weight was now, part of the road, the houses and whatnot.
And I'm so glad. I'm sure the listeners like me are so glad we're re-dissecting this topic. All right, last quote. And I take it back. This is my favorite quote.
Well, I take it back too when I said, please. I would like to change my answer to no thank you, because you asked if I was ready.
Oh. Okay, we don't have to do it then. I won't read it.
All right, I'm changing my mind again.
All right.
Please.
All I'm saying is I'm carrying a crucifix, but I also have a cheese slice. And I know that one.
Oh, I know that one.
Do you still have that cheese in your office?
The cheese has made its way through me now and has become a part of the ether.
Okay. Please don't share any further details.
What would you do if I just lifted up another piece of cheese
I was really
now?
half expecting you to do that. I don't think it would be moldy yet because it's processed American cheese.
Oh, yeah, that stuff's going to last forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Brad, we're going to end our segment here by talking about what the listeners said. I sent out a survey to my listeners last few weeks, and I said, answer this survey anonymously, and I'm going to read results on episode 300. I asked a lot of questions, but the one I'm going to talk about with you is what's the best type of list covered on Tennis Podcast? Choices were movies and TV, true crime, music, food, history, other. What do you think most listeners voted as their favorite genre of list?
I would assume it would be like movies, but I'm going to go with other.
No. Movies was right.
Then I
29%.
stick with that.
So does that mean that everyone hates your list because we've never talked about movies on the show together?
100% we never talk about movies on this show.
We talked about exploding horses, but no movies.
Our issue is we talk about really cinematographic history.
Movies and TV had 29% of the votes. But the next two vote getters are more in our wheelhouse. True crime and history.
Naturally.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm more negligent homicide than true crime, though.
Yeah, but it's the closest thing, true crime, to what... True crime and history, that's like the blend closest to what you cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Brad, we're going to end now. And I want to say to you, what began as two completely separate, nothing in common podcasters joining together for a one-off collaboration, that became a long-term partnership and friendship. You've brought me so much joy, laughter, tears, and of course, existential dread and depression. I can't imagine the last 150 episodes of Tennis Podcast without your recurring presence. Thank you for stepping in to come onto the show so often, even though you're very busy and you have your own podcast about innocent humans dying en masse to run. But much like your precious love of your life, Ratso, you are loved, you are appreciated, and most importantly, you are feared.
I love you too, Nick. Here's to 700 more episodes.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
I'm loving this trajectory, Nick. Nothing can change it.
God. If I'm still doing this in 700 episodes, someone please fucking kill me. I'm kidding. I love the show. I think we will be here in 700 episodes, but Brad, you might be in the home by then, I think.
Hey.
Brad's really old.
Super old, dude.
Yeah. Well, Brad, thank you again. I mean it. Do you have any last words for the listeners before we part ways?
I love you too, listeners. I'm just going to tell them all that I love them.
I love them too. And I love you. And I'll talk to you soon, Brad.
Bye, Nick.
Well, boomers are also searching for old man with young girl.
The search, like what people type into porn. I mean, I realize there's lots of different reasons why it's simple, but it sounds so caveman and animalistic, like some guy sitting there naked with his dork out and typing in a computer. And
Would you just call things what they are? Do you have to have a fucking gross word for everything?
Well, it's gonna keep you on your toes.
His dork.
He's got his dork out and he's typing away and he's like, oh, what would make my wiener feel good? Old man, young girl. He pounds it on the keyboard and then he pounds it out on his lap.
I don't like to think about
it.
That.
Reminds me of ordering at a drive-thru, like because they've simplified the drive-thru, the combo meals where you can just say you want a number. You can just drive up and grunt a number at them and they'll give you food.
Yeah, soon you can just verbally grunt to Pornhub and it'll just pull up.
They're like, when you want it.
Well, you mentioned on this note, I also have the top 6 most common words found in the comments on Pornhub.
One's got to be baby.
For those that don't frequent porn sites like Brandon, usually there's the video.
Right.
It's basically just a porn YouTube. YouTube, you can like the video, you can comment, you can subscribe to the person. So These are the comments on the videos, and I have the top 6.
You
ready?
The comments on porn videos make the comments on YouTube look like fucking Shakespeare.
All right, you want to know the first one?
Let me guess. I'm going to guess where damn, baby, and cum are 3 of the top words.
Yeah, and it'll be something like, damn, baby, I'd make you come so fast once you come over
It's not
here.
even as much as that. It's just like, damn, baby, I come hard.
As if that woman wants you to call her baby.
Yeah.
Actually, none of those are in the top 6, but you're in the right mindset.
Mm-hmm. Dopey.
Number 6 is nice. Yeah, this is nice.
I stuck 14 inches worth of anal beads up my ass, and all this guy, somebody watched. It's 14 minutes long. Somebody just goes, nice. I'm gonna praise all the effort.
Number 5 is kind of surprising. Pretty.
Except I think, yeah, okay.
It's like you're on a porn site, but then you have to be like, you're so beautiful.
I don't think they're talking about their face.
Number 4, just sexy. Boring. That.
Yeah.
3 is like.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they saying there? I like this.
I like it. I like it when the cum comes out.
2 is love.
Uh-huh. I love it when the cum comes out.
And 1 is good. So maybe good job. Good work. Good scene.
Feel good.
Now, Brad is cute. He's cute as shit. But I don't think anyone is as cute as our next guest. I first met this gentleman in middle school in the suburbs of Tulsa, Oklahoma. We became friends in high school, and we've been close ever since. Now, he may think we've remained friends for almost 20 years now because I value his friendship and sense of humor, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, I value his silky smooth bum-bum most of all. So, let's get to my conversation with Alex Johns. Alex Johns, welcome to your portion of the 300th episode of Tennis Podcast.
300? Look at that.
Where do you think we'll be on episode 3000?
The moon.
The moon. I hope so. I hope we're on Mars, though.
Yeah.
Alex, I'm going to go through with you now some highlights of your time on Tennis Podcast.
Oh.
The first episode Alex was on was a bonus episode about, do you remember what it was about?
The weight of the solar system bodies, right?
Yeah, the largest objects in the solar system. That was
It was
a
a
list you
great
brought.
list. Probably one of the best lists I've come with.
It was all right. But the first episode on the main feed, so not a bonus episode that you had, was 180, and that was my list. Do you remember what that was?
Largest bodies of water?
Look at you. You're doing great.
Yeah.
And the most recent episode you were on, do you remember that one?
That would have been, the highest GDP. Countries with the highest
Largest
GDPs.
economies.
Yeah.
Episode number 298.
298.
And Alex, what was the most recent list you brought?
Oh, what did I bring? It was the airports that is easiest to find fast food. Very obscure list.
And aren't we all glad that Alex brought that list?
Great list.
And Alex, out of the dozens of episodes you've been on now, is there one that stands out as a personal favorite? I have one written down, but I want to hear yours first.
I really, really liked my planets, the space one.
It was the first one.
It was the first one. I was nervous. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I did a ton of research. I had a lot of fun facts about each of the planets. Yeah, it was
There
fun.
was all kinds of joke material about Dr. Buster's huge fucking ass being like a planet.
Yeah,
It was great.
the jokes write themselves.
I like that one a lot too. My favorite one, though, that I wrote down was episode number 242, which was the largest generations in human history.
Yeah.
And that's mostly because I love hearing you bitch about boomers.
Yeah, I did do a lot of ranting about boomers, didn't I?
Alex, how would you describe your time on Tennis Podcast?
Oh, miserable.
What do you bring to the table? That's you. What is the Alex Johns brand?
Oh, my brand. I like to think of myself as the everyman, right? I'm not particularly good at anything. I'm not particularly
No.
like attractive. I'm not particularly
God.
funny, you know.
Nope.
But I like to feel a little relatable, you know.
No.
So no, not even that too. Okay.
Okay. No.
But anyway, yeah, I see myself as like the voice of the audience, right? Like you just pluck some random person from your audience and put him on your show, and good luck. Here he is.
But the random person I pluck to put on my show, no, not a chance in hell his ass is as smooth as yours.
Well,
not a chance.
That's a given. That's a given.
Yeah.
You know, like we said before, you're not going to challenge LeBron James to a basketball competition. No. You're not going to challenge Dr. Buster to a booty clapping competition.
You're not going to challenge Alex Jones to fucking smooth skinned ass.
Exactly.
It's beautiful. And also beautiful is 5 random out of context quotes that you have said on this show.
Oh,
are you ready?
Can't wait to hear this.
First quote. Just do your best to survive. Find some water. Keep your head down.
When the fuck did I say that?
What was the context? You, but I want to hear you struggle for a minute. What could that be talking about?
It's got to be some sort of like apocalypse scenario, right?
Yeah. It was about the corrupt countries and the countries that like fucking can't even like get clean water.
Were we talking about fucking Equatorial Guinea? Fuck Equatorial Guinea.
Equatorial Guinea. Anyone listening there, just fuck yourself and unsubscribe. Now, this next quote I wrote down before our most recent episode where we talked about the largest economies.
Yeah.
And that makes it funnier now that after that episode.
Okay.
The quote is, there's so much of that shit in Paris.
That is funny.
Because Alex shit his pants in Paris.
I've shit my pants in Paris.
I think we were talking about street performers or something in Paris. I don't know.
Were we not talking about the Olympics where the Parisians were protesting by shitting in the river that the Olympics were going to swim in?
Oh, God, I should have brought a quote about that. Yeah. Holy shit.
See, I was just...
That's actually like...
I was just... because I was there before all that happened when I shit my pants. I was just starting to trend.
You were starting to trend.
That's all it is.
Well, like we talked about, if this was 200 years ago...
Nobody would have bid an eye.
You would have just been another guy on the street shitting. Oh. I love this next one. I guess that tracks for magicians to have fucking questionable thought processes.
Yeah. That magician episode.
I love how you fucking just shots fired at magicians.
When you said what the list was on the episode, I really didn't have high hopes. I was like, I don't know shit about magicians. But it turned out to be a pretty fun episode.
It turned out okay, yeah. And yeah, all magicians are awful. I agree.
Yeah.
Let's see if you get this one. He's essentially a potato with the communication skills of an alarm clock.
Oh, I was probably talking about my son when he was
You're talking about your 5-month-old son.
No, not 5. He's great now as a 5-month-old, but
well, right.
Back
he's
when he
5
was
months old now, but at the time, he was probably a month old or something. All right, and this is my favorite one. This is just one episode of snuggling. Oh, we decided to snuggle instead of doing this together at the start of an episode.
That would be a very wholesome episode.
And I'm still waiting for that. Still waiting to just snuggle you for an hour.
That'll be episode 3000.
The mic picks up the sounds of our rustling. I love that. All right, and to end our time here together, I put out a survey to people. You may have taken it yourself. And I asked people various questions. And one of them was, these are Tennis Podcast listeners. I asked them who would win in an all-out fight to the death, Dr. Phil or President Donald Trump? What do you think the majority of Tennis Podcast listeners chose?
It's got to be Dr. Phil.
Why?
Because, like, Trump has never, like, lifted a finger in his life. You know?
Well, when he raped women, he probably did.
Sure. But Dr. Phil, like, he looks like he's a scrapper. He'll get down and dirty. I think he played football, right, in college?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. Me and Brandon did a full bonus episode on Tennis Pod Plus about Dr. Phil. And one of them was he was in... God, I can't remember the details now, but he was part of a football team that lost like a historic record-breaking, like 100-0 game.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he was on the winning or losing team, but he was part of that game.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dr. Phil did win the vote. 56% said Dr. Phil would beat Donald Trump in an all-out fight to the death.
Closer than I expected.
I'm going to read you some of the reasons that listeners said for their choice. Dr. Phil, because he's more psychotic and sneaky.
Okay, fair.
Dr. Phil, because Brandon's impressions.
Yeah. Fill in the blanks.
Phil. I don't know how that would help Dr. Phil in a fight for his life, but...
Yeah, it was a 2-part Dr. Phil I watched with my wife, and it was shocking.
And how did Dr. Phil sound when he presented this information?
I can't believe what I'm hearing. How did you sit in the same room with this man who is Jared from Subway?
Dr. Phil, he just really wants to help people. He doesn't want to just use this for ratings for 2 weeks and play these disgusting fucking tapes he's just really looking to help everybody out.
Now, I'll tell you what, you can put a tick on a dog's ear.
Okay.
That's it. He had an aneurysm after that.
Okay. Someone else said about Trump, because that motherfucker can't be stopped.
Yeah, I mean, they're not wrong.
He's kind of proven that Trump will just, he somehow gets away with all of the shit he wants to do. The next person said, Trump ain't winning anything, ... unless he cheats.
Okay.
Which he's known to do that.
Yep.
If they were fighting in a hot desert, Trump is more likely to be camouflaged and get less sunburnt because of his orange skin and odd build.
Okay, I see where they're going with that.
Dr. Phil also odd-shaped, odd build,
Yeah,
I'd say.
Both of them, yes.
Someone else said Trump because of his Secret Service.
Fair.
Do you think in an all-out fight to the death, the Secret Service can interfere? Or do they need to just let the boys handle it?
I feel like their job is to prevent harm to the president, so...
But Dr. Phil probably has his own security team.
I mean, sure, if the security teams want to fight each other too. I feel
Someone
like Secret Service would win, though, over a private security team. But
I don't know. They couldn't stop him from getting shot by a fucking teenager in last summer.
Yeah.
End of Alex's statement.
I mean, yeah, sure.
Dr. Phil would win because of his mustache.
True.
I would actually love to see Donald Trump with facial hair.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be interesting? He's never had facial hair.
His son has facial hair.
Oh, right. I forgot. Donald Trump and his son are the same person. I forgot. You're right. Absolutely right. If one of them has facial hair, the other also has facial hair.
He was just saying that he's got the ability to grow it.
Oh, sure. I never doubted he has the ability to, but I'd just like to see it.
Yeah. Good point.
It's a tough question to answer. Trump, as we know, is hard to kill, but no one would bother with Dr. Phil, so we are unsure of his resilience. Dr. Phil played sports, and is Trump's physical superior, but his weakness in psychology. He will try to analyze Trump. This is an impossible feat. And they did misspell feet. F-E-E-T, which I thought was funny.
That's cute.
I believe Trump will be the victor via head explosion.
Okay. I'll believe it.
That was the last one, actually. So I've always said, me and Brandon talked about this years ago, and I stand by what I said. Dr. Phil, to me, seems like the type of guy that will become desperate and wild-eyed and will do anything to preserve himself.
Yeah, I could see it.
Whereas Donald Trump, they're both a little bitch, but Donald Trump is truly never done anything in his entire life.
Right.
So I'd pick Dr. Phil.
Yeah, me too. In fact, I think I voted on this, and that was my vote.
Well, now the whole thing's rigged. We're gonna have to redo it. Sorry. That was the end. Alex, I want to thank you not only for jumping in and helping me with this podcast the last few years, but also for being my friend.
You're welcome. One of those is definitely harder than the other, and I will let you ponder on which is which.
What is your goodbye message to the Tennis Pod listeners?
It's been a great 300. We'll see you in 300 more.
All right. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks. Bye.
Heart disease.
Heart disease. 16% of all deaths.
I did it.
Brandon, how would Dr. Phil categorize this top 10 list?
This is a mess of shit y'all need to avoid at all costs. Stay off the road. Quit your breathing.
Quit your breathing?
Stop eating your sugars.
Fuck. Hey, since we're doing impersonations now,
fill in the blanks.
This episode has been one huge sausage fest so far, am I right? Let's shake things up and welcome our next guest. She is a fan favorite and host of her own excellent podcast, LA Not So Confidential. She's become a great friend and ally over the years, and she loves shitty disaster movies. Up next is Dr. Shiloh. Dr. Shiloh, welcome to the 300th episode of Tennis Podcast.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It's exciting.
Of course, we could not have a 300th episode without the one true doctor of all of our Sidekick Hosts. We don't have any other doctors in our rotation.
Right. Yeah, I'm the only one that needs to be here.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go through kind of a history of Dr. Shiloh on Tennis Podcast. So let's just start with your very first appearance on Tennis. Actually, kind of I don't know if it was on Tennis as much as just a collaboration between our podcasts. You and Dr. Scott, me and Brandon, December 2020, the year of COVID, we did the smartest serial killers on a live stream. Your first main feed episode on the Tennis podcast proper was episode 161, the best true crime documentaries of 2021. And this was only the second episode to feature anyone besides myself or Brandon, and the first lady sidekick host
No
in Tennis
kidding.
podcast history. Yes.
Dang, just breaking glass ceilings.
You are. Put that on your resume.
I am putting it on my CV right now.
Put it on your LinkedIn profile.
Because I love LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I hate LinkedIn so much.
I know. I just saw your TikTok the other day about
yeah.
LinkedIn. The most recent episode before today that you were on was 281, the most prolific female serial killers.
Mm.
And we agreed that on a future iteration of that list, you will have made it by then onto the list. The most recent list that you brought was 244, the most critically acclaimed police procedural TV shows.
That's right.
Okay. And my personal favorite episode that you have been on is 197, the most critically acclaimed disaster films.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
You are forgetting, though, our first actual collaboration, which I never gave you shit for, and I need to do it now, is that you had me write a list for you as a collab that you brought to Brandon. And I'm like, he had me do all his work for him.
I forgot about that, but you're right. Well,
It was very
because,
smart.
and you know this.
Very sneaky.
And before Brandon stepped away, he and I had agreed no guests. We're not doing any guests on this show.
Ah, okay.
And so our method of collaborating, which I agree in hindsight was kind of shitty for you, was to use your research on our list. But
no, I mean, I joke. I mean, when you reached out to me, I mean, obviously we're listening to each other's shows, and above and beyond like being a sidekick guest host every once in a while, I'm a huge fan. And so it was really fun. And obviously, you know, we were baby podcasters then. So we're trying to like cross over with audiences. And no, it was fun. I just thought I'd give you
baby
crap for it.
podcasters. Now we are senior citizen Alzheimer's podcasters.
100%. That's us.
Yeah. It's like 1 year in the real world is like 100 podcast years.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Especially you. You crank them out for sure.
Oh, well, hey. I definitely have always believed in quantity over quality. So
it shows, yeah.
Now, for what I've been looking forward to most today, I have brought to you a list of out-of-context Dr. Shiloh quotes from your appearances on Tennis Podcast.
Great.
Are you ready?
I guess so.
Okay. Quote number 1. Dr. Shiloh said this on a past episode. Quote, I did not take a picture of myself eating a hot dog. End quote.
Yeah, that was a very smart choice of me when I was sort of reenacting at the Atlanta airport, and that would have lived on the internet forever. So,
yes, and someday when we're billionaire Joe Rogan level podcasters, that clip would have come back to bite you.
1000%, yeah.
Right. Okay, quote number 2. This patient is driving me fucking nuts. I wish I could kill him. And I'll specify, since you are a real doctor,
Yes.
that you were not talking about one of your own patients. You were quoting something that someone else said on it. But I took it out of context.
It's something that I probably still would say in real life. It's okay. We're people too.
Yes. And this next one, I don't even know. I don't remember where I pulled this from. And it's so weird. We're going to have peanuts and soy, but that's all we got.
What the fuck?
I don't know.
All right. I'm going to have to go back and figure that one out.
I pulled that quote like a few days ago, and now I have no memory of
Lovely.
where it came from.
Because we have
All right.
Alzheimer's.
We do. All right, last quote is, quote, and don't strangle them with stethoscopes, end quote.
That probably was from like the killer nurse that was on that list of female serial killers.
That was it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And what I like is, so I brought 4 quotes, and 2 out of 4, or 50%, were about violence, strangling, or killing a patient. And the other 50% were about food, hot dogs, peanuts, and soy.
Totally tracks for me.
Does that track? Okay.
Yep. That's very on brand for sure.
Yep. Well, Shiloh, as you may know, recently I asked my listeners to complete a quick survey, episode 300 survey, and I am going to read you some of the results now, and I want you to react to them.
Yes.
I asked, what's a random factoid or piece of trivia you learned about on Tennis Podcast that has always stuck with you? And I'll read a few. Number 1 was how big of a piece of shit Bing Crosby was.
Oh.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like horrible to his children or something, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I don't remember now, but it was something like that. I think he was like a really violent alcoholic or something. And that might have, I may be misremembering, but fuck it.
No,
I'm just going to
that's
say
right.
he was a fucking raging alcoholic.
Sure. Why not?
I think anyone that was alive in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s was an alcoholic. I think there was no exceptions.
Probably. I would be too. I mean, God, who would want to live back then?
Back when they're shitting in the streets,
Yep.
Everything was worse back then. All right. Does the name Major Butt mean anything to you?
No. What is that from?
Major Butt was the name of a major who died on the Titanic.
Oh, I don't remember that one. Okay.
Yeah. No one ever talks about Major Butt.
That sucks.
They
I
always talk
know.
about Jack and Rose, but Major Butt, give him his dues.
Give him his dues. Went down with the ship.
So someone else said the piece of trivia they learned that's stuck with them is Brad and his pet rat, Ratso.
Nice. Brad is my personal favorite Sidekick host. You know that.
Yeah, he's my personal least favorite.
And the reason I love Brad so much, and especially on your show, is like his show is so good. It's so well produced, so well researched, like the perfect amount of just like dry humor and thoughtfulness. But he comes on the tennis and he's like so unhinged.
He really is. I thought the same thing. I listened to his show, and when I was about to have him on the first time, I didn't know what to expect because he's a one-man show. He's so straightforward. Even when he says funny things on his show, he just rolls right through them. And then on my show, he is fucking unhinged.
It's the best. The best.
And getting Brad, here's a little inside baseball for you. Getting Brad to sit down and record an episode is like trying to grab a slippery fish. I put up with it because I love me some Brad.
That's right.
He always delivers.
He does. Yeah. Good job, Brad.
And that is Doomsday, History's Most Dangerous podcast. Everyone should go listen to it. Okay, the next listener shared the random piece of trivia that they learned on this show was that Thomas Edison invented the wheel. No, that's not it. Never mind. So thank you, listener. Shiloh, I want to know if this rings true for you as well on your show. Booty clapping audio picks up quite well. Have you found that to be the case?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And Scott sits down while we record. I stand, so I'm guessing that I guess it's coming from me. I don't know.
No. Well, if Scott has perfected the sitting down booty clap, then
maybe he has.
Yeah, he should be charging for that.
Yeah, he was a professional dancer, so probably.
Yes. Dr. Scott, every time I hear something about that man, I become more impressed.
More intrigued and more impressed.
More intrigued, more impressed, more intimidated.
That's him.
Yeah. All right. One more person said, I come for the laughs, not for book learning.
Not from that book learning.
And the last one is, my brain retains nothing. Sad face emoji.
That's kind of what I'm feeling like right now because, to pick one factoid out is kind of crazy. And I hate to lean on like the low-hanging fruit here, but the only one that I remember because I laughed so hard with the way you and Brandon were delivering this information was about the licking machine study. Like, and for me, like, okay, this took place at a university. Like, this was a very well developed study. Yeah, it was Purdue. And I don't know. I can picture myself all those years ago sitting in my car, commuting to work, and just dying laughing. I'm like, I look like a crazy person in my car right now. And you guys couldn't hold it together either.
No.
It's the best part.
Now, what I was most excited to talk to you about was some studies done to get to the center of the answer of the question, how many licks does it take to get to the center of Tootsie Pop? A study done by Purdue University concluded that it took an average of 364 licks to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop using a licking machine.
Yes, which was later taken home by some of the employees on a rotating basis.
A licking machine. Someone had to create this licking machine for the sole intent, well, in quotes.
Wasn't that your nickname in high school?
I like that a huge university like Purdue took the time to not only do this study, but to concoct a licking machine.
God.
To get to get to the answer of it.
I've had a breakthrough on the licking machine today.
Oh, you found out how many licks it takes to get to the center?
No, it became my boyfriend.
No, but it tosses a hell of a salad.
This is all misdirection by a really horny dean to get them. So how's that licking machine coming along? I'm going to get to the bottom of this Tootsie Pop business.
God damn.
I found additional funding for the licking machine in my wallet. Head down to Home Depot. Here's my bank card.
Fuck. Why did we do the tennis podcast? Let's cancel this idea because I just want to talk about the licking machine full time.
The licking machine podcast.
Doesn't the licking machine seem like it's... Like, I'd never heard of it before that. I'm sure you hadn't either.
No.
And it seems like that should be a thing. Like, the
should
licking
be in a
machine...
museum somewhere.
Yes, exactly. Like, it feels like it's been hidden from us.
Right?
All this-
Yeah, maybe that's why we were so taken aback. One of the many reasons.
Yeah. And I got to say, honestly, one of my favorite things about doing this podcast for almost 7 years now, 300 episodes, is the little things like that.
Yeah.
Like, where else would I ever have learned about the licking machine?
No, totally.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, look at 300 episodes. You will never run out of material. Yet, I'm sure you think like, okay, we've had to have done every list in the world, right?
Yeah.
And no, I mean, there's just so much stuff that can constantly like keep your feet up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I need to find someone smart, so not me or you, that can bring me like a list of the top 10 weirdest studies funded by a university. Because the licking machine would be on there.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
Well, I want to read you one more thing from this survey.
Okay.
And that is there a particular quote from Tennis Podcast that you remember fondly? And one person said not a quote, but just Nick and Brandon laugh crying over the Animorphs.
Yep.
Which all time, probably the hardest I've ever laughed was that first time doing Animorphs with Brandon. Brandon's inflatable family.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Don't remember the exact quote, but the Puma quote and making it a better shoe than his brother.
With the accent and everything. Yeah, for sure.
Brandon was a really underrated accent guy.
100%. Like accents, impressions.
And the last one I have is the Pornhub comment section makes YouTube comment section feel like Shakespeare.
That's so good. I think of and you've done this a few times, but I remember very, very early, and I'm talking like your guys' like first 10 episodes or something.
Oh, wow.
And Brandon's like, yeah, fucker, like you didn't edit out what you say you were going to edit out of the last episode. And like you would do that. You'd be like, oh, I'll edit that out. Don't worry. But like you never did. And so I went back to listen, and it was like also a classic, right? It was when he was so hesitant to talk about how the killer clowns from outer space growing boobs made him feel as a preteen. He was just like, I can't say this. I can't. And you're like, don't worry, I'll edit it out. And then he's like, oh, I'm going to regret this. And then you didn't. So classic. And like, it was like Lucy and Charlie Brown with the football, right? Like he can never trust you again, but he did.
He did. He didn't have a choice.
No.
But that was the friendship we had. It was like real life was like that too. We did that shit all the time.
I bet.
And even though people listening might be thinking that was mean of Nick to do that to him, I promise you he did the same shit to me all the time.
I'm
so
sure.
Don't worry.
We all know that. Yeah.
Dr. Shiloh, I want to close by saying when I first started podcasting with Brandon in 2018, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. But one thing that helped was meeting other podcasters who also didn't know what the fuck they were doing, but making it work anyway. And LA Not So Confidential, your podcast, it was one of the very first podcasts I listened to after starting my podcast. I've been a listener ever since. I really appreciate you coming on the show over the years. You know, I remember being intimidated by you in the beginning because you're this learned doctor. You have all these credentials and I'm over here fucking a nothing podcast. You know, it means a lot to me that you would come on the show and I appreciate that. And it's only a shame that I am still too intimidated by Dr. Scott to have him ever come on.
Right? I am just a person with a potty mouth too that does, likes to laugh. That's why I fit. No, thank you so much. I mean, 300 episodes? I mean, we just got to 200. I I really have admired your dedication to this with not just episodes, but the branding and the newsletters and the social media. And you can tell how much time and energy you put into this and keeping the podcast going, after we lost Brandon. And I say we because the collective we of those who got to know him and those that just listened to him was really something. And I don't know. I put myself in your shoes a lot, and I don't know how you did that. And you did it really, really well. And I don't want to say like flawlessly, because it wasn't a flawless situation, but it worked. And it was the right way to honor him, the right way to pivot. And as another podcast human, I admire you. I admire the work that you've done. This is an amazing body of work. And thanks for all the laughs. 300 episodes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Shiloh. I appreciate all the listeners.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care. Bye.
So Adolf created Adidas, and his brother Rudolph established Puma, which became Adidas' business rival. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Puma was founded by the brother of the Adidas guy.
I can run a shoe company as well. I will call it Puma. I'll put it right next to you.
Stop. Oh, fuck.
What does an Adidas even mean? Mine is named after a mighty puma.
Fuck, you might have to do the rest of the show without me, Jesus Christ.
Get it together. Slap yourself.
I've already been slapping myself under the table. Right. Up next is another of my friends of nearly 20 years, Stephen Clark. Stephen and I grew up in the same friend group where we hung out with Alex Johns and Dr. Buster, and it's in that friend group that I learned what a frisky little devilish sumbitch Stephen is. So let's get to our Tennis Pod history recap with Stephen Clark. Stephen, you son of a bitch, welcome to your segment on the 300th episode of Tennis Podcast. How do you feel?
By God.
Don't give a
bub.
shit. By God, bub. Stephen, I'm going to give you a brief history of your time on Tennis Podcast. Your first episode that you were ever on was a bonus episode. Do you remember what that was?
It was Pokemon related. It was the heaviest Pokemon. Yep.
You got it. That was your first episode. You brought that list, I think, right?
I sure did.
Your first main feed episode was episode 211. Do you know what that was?
Man, no, I don't. I remember I was nervous.
Walmart's top selling product.
I was going to fucking say that one, but then I was like,
well,
no,
I guess we'll just take your word for it, won't
you just
we?
will
I guess we'll just have to believe you.
Yeah.
The most recent episode you were on was just last week, number 299, where couples meet.
That wasn't it. That was not it.
Oh, you're right. It's where farmers met on Farmers Only. I forgot.
There you go. There you go.
The most recent list that Stephen brought to the show, do you remember?
It wasn't the NASA one. It was, it was the concerts.
Nope.
What?
Nope.
The list that I brought?
Was it concerts?
Yeah.
I thought it was the home inspections.
Oh, no, you're right. It is the home inspections.
Can you say that again? The first part, slower.
No, but I almost had him going. Did you hear that, listeners? He was about to go. He was about to go fact checking.
I really was about to pull up my thing, and yeah. No, most common home inspection issues. Now, my personal favorite Stephen episode, you already mentioned it. NASA's most expensive programs. That was episode 271. But I have an honorable mention for my second favorite episode, which was a bonus episode we did where we talked about the worst things early pioneers had to eat to survive the Old West.
What was the something hog? Something it was the
head cheese.
Head cheese. That's what it was. Head cheese.
Oh, you're getting me salivating just thinking about that delicious.
Love me some head cheese. I'm going to go have some head cheese as soon as we're done recording this.
Please don't. Do you have a personal favorite? Does one episode we've done stand out? Is it the NASA one?
No, actually, I think my favorite. It might have been I was going to say the movies one I brought. I also liked the Office list that I brought you, but that was a long time ago.
Good.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the first few episodes you were on.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Stephen, now, next, I'm going to share with you several quotes that you have said on the show out of context.
Oh, Lord.
You said these, not me. You said it.
Well, we'll have to go back and fact check these.
Here we go. Number 1, quote, "If you want gas prices, just unsubscribe from this show."
If you want gas prices? Well, you fucking heard me. If you want gas prices, fucking unsubscribe.
You're in the wrong place,
Yeah, you're in the
asshole.
wrong place.
And the next quote, ironically, is also fuel related. Quote, "We take propane and put that in the fridge." End quote.
I don't know when I would have said that. Was that when we were talking about Rita putting batteries in the fridge?
Yes. God, don't bring it up. I've been talking to my therapist for years about that. All right, the next quote. Quote, "Then the inside can open up in a fucking helicopter and come flying out and also go look at shit." End quote.
The fuck was I talking about there? You pull these out of context, I sound like a madman.
Let me read that one again. It sounds so unhinged. "Then the inside can open up in a fucking helicopter and come flying out and also go look at shit."
Oh, I know what I was talking about. I was talking about the NASA programs. I was talking about one of the rovers that has a helicopter in it. That is fucking crazy.
It is. All right, next. "Mortgage rates on butt plugs are just obscene these days."
Are they fucking not?
Well, yeah.
Especially
Where's the
now
line?
with the tariffs talk? Holy shit. Don't even get me started. I get my butt plugs from Canada, so I'm in a situation here.
Yeah, the butt.
You gonna be all right?
You know, think about the all office memo that the CEO of the butt plug company sent out about the tariff situation.
Folks, I got bad news.
We're going to have to start using your own personal butt plugs. You need to donate them to the office.
And you know some sick fuck out there is like, oh, hell yeah, I've been waiting.
He pulls it out of his pants right there at work.
I've been waiting for this.
All right, next quote. "I got alligators on the mind." And the reason I love that one is because that is something you would say in real life too.
Alligators on the mind. What? Why was I saying that?
Maybe you were creating your farmers only profile.
I did have alligators on the mind when I was making that profile.
FarmersOnly.com is the new online dating site for farmers, ranchers, and good old country folks.
You don't have to be lonely at farmersonly.com.
City folks just don't get it.
All right, and the last quote. "That's why I'll never be able to sell a Dorito for $90,000.
Can you fucking believe somebody? Was it a Cheeto? Was it a fucking?
Yes.
Did you see somebody sent us lately a just fucking Charizard shaped Cheeto that sold for a shitload of money?
Yes.
I need to start invest. Like every time I go to the store, I need to buy a bag of Cheetos. I'm not even going to eat them. I'm just going to go through and make sure there's not some fucking crazy ass
through them
shaped
one by one.
You can't afford not to. You're throwing away money.
And you know those special like magnifying glasses that people wear when they're like working on precious gems?
Yeah.
You'll be wearing those, investigating each and every Cheeto.
I'll have like very bright lights. I'm not even touching it with my fingers. I'm going to have like tweezers and everything. I'm going to be like very, very carefully scrutinizing this Cheeto to make sure that it is in fact shaped just like Jesus.
Or Dr. Phil.
Or Dr. Phil.
Speaking of Dr. Phil, we're done with quotes. The next part I'm going to go through is, you might recall that I sent a survey out to all of our listeners and asked them to complete the survey in anticipation of this episode. And I'm going to read the results of that now for one of those.
Okay.
One of the questions
ready.
I asked was, what is your favorite recurring joke on Tennis Podcast? So before I read the listeners' answers, I want to ask you, Stephen, is there a favorite recurring joke?
My...
And if you say the butler that you kill, I will jump out this window.
My favorite recurring joke, it hasn't been recurring as much, but I really liked the inflatable family one. That was one of my favorites. I did really like that one.
Yeah, I like that one too. Now, the listeners, I'm just going to give you their top three.
Okay.
And the number one winner is dominated, ran away with the poll. 46% of those surveyed said that their favorite recurring joke was Brandon's Dr. Phil impersonation.
Fill in the blank.
In the blanks. Which is interesting because that is like 3 or 4 years old the last time that happened, which means nothing new has captured their imagination, which is great.
We've tried.
The butler thing isn't working, Stephen. We're going to have to workshop something else.
Well, it's either not working or I need to double down on it. I mean,
I think we should double down on the coffin sex joke that we did last episode.
That was wonderful.
I think that has some legs to it. But the number 2 getter on this poll. So number 1, by far, Brandon's Dr. Phil impersonation. And I agree. That's a good one. Number 2 is Back When They Were Shitting in the Streets. Solid, right? Not too bad.
Yeah, that one's solid. I'm kind of surprised peanut butter has fallen so low.
That's number 3. Peanut butter as water is number 3. It's an oldie but a goodie. Okay, Steven. Thank you, first of all, for helping to fill in as I needed to find guests after Brandon, and then after that, for becoming a regular and even a popular part of the show, much to my chagrin. And if we never, ever saw each other again, or one of us died today, we'd always have the butt plug bit to look back on with a tear in our eye and a smile on our face. So thank you for that.
Oh, not a problem. I'm glad I could be here. Glad I could join in. And hopefully, even though the listeners are disgusted with my butler joke, I haven't disgusted them entirely. And they somewhat are able to tolerate my my voice in their ears.
To be clear, I think it was mostly me that was shitting on the butler joke.
Oh, okay.
But I think we can tweak it, maybe make some changes to it, maybe add some peanut butter into the mix, and maybe we can get it into a higher place on the next poll.
That's fine.
You know what the biggest joke is? You, Stephen Clark.
Oh,
Stephen, I appreciate you, man, sincerely. Thank you for stepping up and being a part of this show with me, and we'll talk to you soon.
We'll talk to you soon. See ya.
Most famous one is the grandfather paradox. That's where if you go back in time and kill your grandfather.
It's very violent.
It's a fun story in and of itself. Like, you've just invented time travel, and the first trip that you think of, you can go anywhere, you can visit anything, and you're like, I'm gonna go kill Paw.
I want to know the first person to name this thing, because the paradox itself could apply to a bunch of things, not just killing your grandfather.
Killing your father, or going back in time and killing yourself, or going back in time and just mashing your dad's balls really hard.
Well, depending on the resiliency of your dad's balls, may or may not work. But when you kill your grandfather, in theory, you know it's going to work. But then why would you do it? Why go through all this just to erase yourself from history? Why not just instead kill yourself in the present? Up next is the man himself, the master of the booty clap, Dr. Buster. Dr. Buster was the first person I thought of to step in once Brandon stepped away. And like a good neighbor, Buster was there. His sweaty booty clap can only be rivaled by his commitment to keep coming on to Tennis Podcast, despite the fact that I gave him so much shit in every episode. But I wouldn't do that if I knew he couldn't take it. Probably. Well, without any further ado, let's get to our final guest on this special 300th episode, Dr. Buster. Well, we've saved Buster for last, and he is here now to talk about the history of Dr. Buster on Tennis Podcast.
So I'm not the worst nor the best, right?
I said neither.
Hey, that's good to know, honestly. I don't have to be the best.
I never said you weren't neither of those things. You could be one of those things.
You paused.
Well, I didn't want to hurt your feelings. Buster, do you recall the very first episode you were on, the very first list you guessed on Tennis Podcast?
I do. It was something about like trending news topics for 2021. Is that right?
Close, but not quite. Your first episode was number 160, the most viewed Wikipedia pages of 2021. And that was
got the year right. Knew it.
You going to keep interrupting me, or can I do my own podcast?
You will continue to be impressed.
Did you know, you probably do, but that was the very first time anyone besides Nick Emel or Brandon Coffman had ever been on Tennis Podcast, was that episode.
Okay. And that's when you lost about 80% of your loyal listeners.
Well, it's scary how close to true that is. Now, Buster, the most recent episode you were on, what was that one? Look at this shit. He remembers the first one from 4 years ago, but he can't remember the one that was just a few weeks ago.
Oh, the most award-winning films of the 21st century.
That's right. And that was number 296, just 4 weeks ago. And what's the most recent list you brought to the show?
The most recent list that I brought? Oh, well, it was that one.
It was a trick question. You got it. All right, that was that one. Now, Buster, out of all the dozens, I actually didn't count them up, but I'd guess it'd be, maybe around 50 episodes you've been on so far.
1,000? Yeah.
No. This is the 300th
it feels
episode.
Like it.
Brother, if this is the 300th actual episode, but if this was the episode that it felt like it was, we'd be in the tens of millions, I think. Of all the episodes you've been on, what's your favorite?
Oh, that's hard. There's, you can have favorites for different reasons. Something that stands out to me, sports, mascots was kind of fun. For whatever reason, I think about that one more so than some of our others.
Why is that?
I think it's an approachable topic. I am a sports fan, and I do think a lot about teams, logo designs, mascots, that conversation about the appropriateness of a certain mascot to either a team or a geographical area and whether or not it fucking stands the test of time. I've had that conversation multiple times since we recorded the episode. It just kind of comes up, and I guess that's probably a retrieval cue to remind me of the episode.
How the fuck does that come up? Just say, I bring it up in conversations. Just say that. It doesn't come up naturally.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't be like, talking about whether or not strawberry shortcake reheats well. And then you'd be like, oh, yeah. And by the way, do you think the Lakers is an appropriate mascot for the basketball team in Los Angeles?
Exactly.
No,
you're probably watching sports, and then you turn to the person next to you and say, hey, isn't it dumb that they have this mascot or this team name?
My point is, even if I do bring it up, it's at an appropriate time. The opportunity has presented itself, and I take the universe up on it. I just thought of another one. Doing the research and looking up the facts for the dinosaur groups episode was fun. Learned some new things about that, and I'm always down to talk about dinosaurs. And I also enjoyed. Let's see, what was the episode? It was something like things you could do on a first date that led to people getting married, and we had some riff on you experiencing this lady who got up in the middle of what I think was a horror movie to get a giant
the giant hot dog. I've told this story many times on the show.
And then we ran with that for the rest of the episode. That sticks out in my mind.
So you mentioned 3 episodes, and what do all 3 of those episodes have in common? That's a question. You can answer it.
I brought the list.
You brought the list. So what I'm hearing is you're full of yourself, and it's only a good episode if you brought the list into the research.
I don't think one has to be full of oneself to think that the work somebody else does is shoddy and subpar.
Okay. Well, I brought 2 favorite episodes, and I brought one list, and you brought the other, which means I'm unbiased and fair.
You've
and you
also
are
had
extremely
some time
biased.
to prepare.
Well, I'll tell you one of them. It's my favorite episode, which was the most powerful Greek gods.
Okay.
Which was funny because when I brought that episode, just by sheer coincidence, because as you know, we don't tell each other the list beforehand, you had just finished like a Greek god book. You actually came, you were more prepared than the average person probably was to talk about Greek gods.
And I did come at least once.
Okay. And the other one I brought was one a list you brought, and I'm surprised you didn't mention it because it's the largest land animals
that was fun.
in North America. And that episode featured lots of animal noises and clips.
Well, I like to think every episode that I have recorded with the show includes some type of animal noises, but I guess you could call those authentic because I had you live look up some like YouTube clips of these ungodly creatures.
Well, Buster, next I'm going to share with you several quotes that you said on this show.
Okay.
And these quotes are going to be presented out of context, but they are things that you said. They came out of your mouth.
Well, I feel like this is about to be a gotcha moment where there's a 10% chance I'm about to be canceled from whatever career I hope to have.
I think it's more like 25% chance. And I'm also going to isolate this clip and send it to your current and any future employers you may have.
And I'll be like, hot diggity damn. I knew this guy was impressive. But when I heard that thing he just said about dressing up like a bat and hanging upside down before you
Hey, spoiler, damn. All right, the first quote. People are not searching for Sheryl Crow porn. And I disagree, first of all. I think someone out there is searching for that.
Funny you say that. About 2 weeks ago, I watched a old YouTube clip of Jim Gaffigan defending Dave Chappelle's stand-up special, The Closer, and he was sitting next to Sheryl Crow. And I couldn't help but think that it's like, damn, Sheryl Crow, aged like some fine wine. She's,
oh my God,
looking
just
great.
stop. Just
hasn't
stop.
aged a day.
The next quote. Maybe Sheryl Crow can relate to this one. You said, You got to feel the airbrush across your eyebrows. That's how connected you need to be to the booty clap to get the full benefit. Was that a quote by you or Sheryl Crow? I'm not sure.
You know,
I think that might be a lyric from one of her songs.
It is. You know, like if you're a true fan of an artist, you know the songs that don't quite make it to the radio. And that's one of those deep cut Sheryl Crow. It was on an album, but most people don't know about it unless they're a real one.
I need a listener here to clip that section, that quote, and this conversation and send it to Sheryl Crow, tag her on Instagram or whatever social platform and let her know that we were talking about her song where she said, you got to feel the airbrush across your eyebrows. That's how connected you need to be to get the booty clap full benefit. Oh, God.
Okay, hold on. How did you come up with these quotes that you picked?
I just went through a couple of the episodes you've been on. I read through the transcripts and I found the most absurd out of context things to share. Although maybe they're not absurd, depending on who you are.
Well, some people would agree with the sentiment. You got to get right in there. You got to get close.
You got to feel the airbrush across your eyebrows.
If you don't have a small chance of guessing what they had for breakfast the previous day,
we're moving on.
Then
We're going to go from one ass quote to another. Here's the next one. Does a seahorse have a butt? You said that.
It's still a good question. How do they shit?
Well, no.
Tell me if I showed you a cartoon image of a seahorse on an 8.5 by 11 picture, and I said, Nick, take this pencil here and point to where the butt is. Where are you pointing?
Under the tail.
You
know,
when you say under it, you mean like kind of like a dog, right? Where it's
or any animal with a tail. We made Buster think.
Is that where fish assholes are too?
Well, where else would they be? Their fucking forehead?
Well, I don't know.
Under the tail. That's pretty standard. All right, we're going to move on before I break your brain. We're going to move away from the butt and this time go to the winky. Your quote now is, quote, I jerked off about wearing a dog's devil costume, end quote. What do you have to say for yourself?
I think I was talking about someone in a hypothetical story, not myself.
I don't know. That's the quote I have. Came from you. And it says, I jerked off.
I jerked off about myself wearing a devil dog costume. I don't know if that's more disturbing than just straight off jerking off about a dog in a devil dog costume.
We got more disturbing quotes coming, I promise.
It's yourself wearing one. I mean,
what's wrong with that?
What layers of sexual abuse and trauma and fucked up YouTube searches have got you to the point where that's the multiple layer thing that is going to get you off?
I don't know. Can you tell us?
It's not me.
Well, that's who said it. All right, don't worry.
Yeah.
I got one next that's going to get us back on track. The next quote, I think you'll still agree with. Being careful is one of my core character traits.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that either.
Yeah.
Do you know?
And that has only exaggerated after becoming a parent. For sure.
I'd agree with that. The next quote. Sir Mix-a-Lot would be shaking his head.
Probably talking about people liking flat asses.
Tell me, do you think there's a flat ass on the next quote? Quote, poor lady elephant seal.
Yeah, that's because the male elephant seal is like, he is like 4,000 pounds or something, and she's like 1/10 of his size. I mean, it's a wonder any female survives copulation.
Wait, are we talking about the elephant seals or your fucking household?
Yeah. And if
you have a normal body, same body structure as your wife, but your ass is 10,000% bigger.
That's why I have to be on bottom, right? Because it just might break her pelvis if I get on top.
If you're on bottom and she's on top of you, she's actually like almost touching the ceiling.
Yeah, we have to remove the ceiling fan and take it off the ceiling to make sure we have room for her.
Poor Lady Buster Seal. Yeah. I have two more quotes for you. This one's my favorite. Because I don't even know. I'll just say it. Quote. The FBI of hair still has not been able to find Alex's ass. You're talking about Alex Johns here, because Alex Johns is notorious in our friend group for having a smooth, hairless ass. But
Right.
I have to imagine we were not talking about Alex, and you threw him under the bus in this quote.
No, I think we were talking about how smooth and hairless his bum was. And I just imagined that if there was an FBI agency
of
hair, they were still, the hair from his ass was still on the run because there's nowhere to be found.
They're on a hair hunt, not a manhunt, but a hair hunt to find why they're doing this is another question we should explore. Why do they give a fuck?
Yes, but it probably should be logged as a cold case at this point because they're never going to find it. I don't think it was ever there.
And his bum probably does get cold because there's no hair to keep it warm. All right, and the last quote of the day, we're going to go back to how we started. Quote, I refuse to lay down in the same bed as my wife until I'm dressed as a bat. End quote. Is that still true today?
Yeah. Especially in these darker months in the winter.
Yeah, got to wear that bat costume.
They always just go for the crotch.
But they want the seed, right?
They come from other solar systems or galaxies for our little genitals. You know, the part about the aliens abducting people to, like, whatever, mate with them or have them create, like, alien hybrid babies. The problem with that is they're just abducting random people who probably don't want this to happen to them. If you put a couple ads online, there's tons of people that would say, like, yeah, I'm totally cool. You don't have to knock me out or anything. I'll walk on the UFO and you can put whatever on me. You can pull it out of me or I can hump this, like, gray alien with a wig on. Whatever you want, I'll do it.
Or how about just break into a sperm bank?
Oh, yeah, that's a lot better idea. They just like the hunt.
And who doesn't? Right, now we're going to go to our next segment where, as you might recall, Buster, I surveyed our listeners. I sent out a survey and said, and this was an anonymous survey, I said, answer these questions anonymously. I'm going to read the answers on episode 300. One of the questions I asked is, who is your favorite recurring Sidekick host?
Nick.
Are you nervous?
Well,
who's your favorite recurring Sidekick host besides yourself?
Nick, because I'm the host of the Tennis Pod. And, you know, you come on here pretty frequently. So one would say you're on most episodes. So I think I've come to... I'd have to go back and double check. But,
okay.
Yeah. So, you know, the film familiarity is the pillow of the mind. I just have come to be quite enamored with you as a Sidekick host. So,
well, I'm ignoring your joke because it's so absurd no one can even take it seriously. But the last thing you said is pretty important. What'd you say? Familiarity is the FBI of hair, elephant seal of the mind? Something like that? Well, maybe that's why Dr. Buster was voted by listeners as the favorite recurring Sidekick host.
Oh. I'm very honored.
Put it on your resume, bub. Someone wrote in an answer, and I'm going to read it. My favorite Sidekick host depends on the topic. I like Alex if it's something space-related or something he can pop off over. Buster if I feel like giggles or being condescended to. And the rest if I feel like snoozing.
That doesn't make me feel very good.
No. You're very condescending. I totally agree.
That's unfortunate.
What? That you're condescending? I agree.
I agree. Alex Johns brings some strong motherfucking space energy. But one of my all-time favorite episodes is Stephen Clark's episode about the biggest NASA projects. That was a good one.
Agree.
It was fun. It was funny. And I learned a lot because I didn't know shit about most of that.
You could have just stopped at, I didn't know shit, period.
Well, yeah.
I just talked to Stephen on this episode 300, and I told him that was my favorite episode with him on it.
Sweet. Does that story get any better? Or
No, that's literally it. Okay. The next question is, what's a message you'd like to say to the other Tennis podcast listeners out there? So they wrote in their answers, okay? So this is their message to other Tennis listeners. First.
Okay.
I found this show at the beginning of the pandemic. Not sure how many episodes were out at the time, but I listened to them all while I was at work because I was an essential employee. We had just had our second child the week of the
Damn,
shutdowns in
they
America.
are efficient.
And it was a very dark and scary time. Brandon and Nick made me laugh with each episode and helped me get through each day. Notice he didn't say a Buster and Nick.
Well, there, sure. Well, there you go.
The next one. I'm pretty sure I had heard about the pod way back on LA Not So Confidential, and I was hooked from the first episode.
Nice.
End of quote. Hey, some of these are just nice. I'm just reading them to make us
Yeah,
feel
they're great.
good.
They're great.
Some
Am
of
I
them are-
supposed to respond to each one?
Well, I don't know, Buster. I think it's normal for someone to be a guest on a podcast and not say a fucking word the whole time and not respond to anything. I think you're right. Okay, the next quote is one, I think you might have done this because you were spreading propaganda, but Nick ate the hot dog. I was there. I am the trash can. I agree. You are trash, Buster.
I'm the trash can now.
I accidentally discovered the show back in 2022 on the most Googled true crime cases. I fell in love with the banter, but stayed for the content, which I absolutely love. Congrats on 300 episodes.
Well, hot damn. Stayed for the content. Open up wide. Daddy's brought you some content.
Oh, God. I think I need to add that to your... In episode 600, when I do quotes from you again, I'm going to add that one.
Please, please tell me that you're going to stop this show prior to episode 665, because if you get to 666, I won't. I refuse to be on the show. I just won't do it. I'm sorry.
Well, if that happens, I think that's a sign that Jesus is about to come back. So it's a good thing.
You just speak in tongues the whole next episode because I'm gone.
All right, next quote. More booty clapping is needed from the other Sidekick hosts. Step up your game.
Yeah.
It's like Alex Jones said on a recent episode. You wouldn't challenge LeBron James to a basketball game. You wouldn't challenge Dr. Buster to booty clapping.
Yeah, but I don't do it from a competitive place. It's a collaborative piece, like an orchestra. Join me. Let's make a harmony.
And make it so good that you can feel the air brush against your eyebrows. I have another quote, and this one's directed to you specifically.
Yep.
Do you remember when we did, I don't remember what episode it was, but it was about comic books, and you went on a rant about how Superman is the most boring bullshit superhero there is. Do you remember that?
Yes. I've gone on that rant off the podcast as well.
This I know. This is for you. Superman is the greatest superhero of all time. His struggle is real, and I can relate, and maybe you do too. His disguise is not the glasses, it's Clark Kent. It's the portrayal of a man who he is not. A man people look down on that nobody would ever think is anything special. But Superman is special. He is the most powerful person in the universe. For Superman to fail, it means everyone fails because there is no one more powerful than him. That's stressful shit. His stories are about the contrast and pressure of being both people. Batman is a broody wannabe hero with daddy issues. End quote.
Okay.
Now, respond, but try not to be condescending in your response.
It's impossible.
Okay. Does that make you change your mind at all about Superman?
No.
All right, I have two more for you, and then we're done.
Okay.
Just fucking unsubscribe already. I'm going to be the last one standing. So this person is actually advocating for everyone unsubscribing but this one person so that they can be the one singular listener.
How will they know they're the last one standing?
Jesus will have brought everyone back to heaven already besides them.
Sure.
They'll be the last one on earth.
Yep. And they're just re-listening to old episodes. Like, I fucking got you.
Yep. They'll probably skip the Buster episodes, though.
Yeah. That's
If they're
okay.
smart. Last one. Thanks for being part of this weird club and chortling along with me. Here's to another 300 episodes, weirdos. Did you know if we do 300 more episodes, based on the timeline it took to get to the current 300 this 300th episode, 300 episodes in the future, you and I will be in our 40s.
25.
weird?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucked up, man.
Shit's fucked.
Shit's fucked.
Did you think you would go 300 when
No.
you and Brandon were talking about starting this?
We were lucky to get to 10.
Sure.
Once you get to 10, it's like, okay, we can keep going. Let's get to 50. And it just keeps going. And speaking of Brandon, Buster, other than myself and Brandon, you've been on more episodes of Tennis Podcast than anyone else. And in retrospect, that was a huge mistake. But I will say...
That was your fatal flaw right there.
Well, in closing, in all seriousness, I appreciate you stepping in to fill in when I needed help. When Brandon stepped away, you were the very first person I thought of, and you did not hesitate to step in and have since become an integral part of the show so much that people voted you their favorite recurring sidekick host, despite how condescending you are. So thank you, Buster, sincerely, and thank you above all else for being my friend and for having one hell of an ass.
Well, I have to say the honor is all mine.
We're out of time. We got to go. We got to sign off. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, the fact that you thought of me at all means a lot. And, the honor's been on mine because this was not a labor to do. It was super fun. Not only can you learn a little bit, but it's just is an enjoyable experience. And as two friends who haven't lived in the same place for many years, but we still try to connect, this is one excuse to hop on and connect in a unique way. You and I, because of this show, have been able to have moments, laughs, and conversations we never would have otherwise. Because can you get to talking about the FBI of hair, not finding Alex John's lack of ass hair? If we were sitting in a coffee shop trying to catch up, we hadn't seen each other in 6 months, that probably we would never get to that point. But because we're on the show,
there's a chance, but less likely. Yeah,
there's always a chance. And I think that's one of the things I'll always cherish about these episodes that we shared. And the time that we recorded 10ish for the show is having those moments together as friends that we just wouldn't have had otherwise.
I feel the same way. Not just about you, but about Alex and Steven, who've been friends, as long as I've been friends with you, pretty much. And for sure, this show has helped us connect and engage way more than we would have otherwise, because like you said, we all live in different places. So it's been nice. And Buster, the listeners in that survey, the answers I read was what they wanted to say to the other 10ish Pod listeners out there. Now I'm going to ask you, what do you want to say as we end here? What is your message to the 10ish Podcast listeners?
A sincere thank you to everyone who supports the show, who enjoys it. And it's a cliche at this point, but no show is possible without the fans in the audience. So
100%. I appreciate you all. Thank you, Buster. And I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
When you think of a turtle, you probably think of it as a quiet animal, right? Not a lot of noises being made.
Yeah, they are normally pretty quiet.
Tortoises may be vocal when courting and mating and communicating.
That's what I heard. Horny tortoise looking like Mitch McConnell going.
Turtles also have non-vocal ways of communicating that may be employed during courtship. For example, the male slider turtle uses their long foreclaws to stroke the female's face while courting.
That's kind of cute.
It uses its foreclaws for foreplay, am I right?
Maybe he's trying to slap her. We just can't tell.
We did it. 300 episodes are now in the books. If you didn't hear me before, let me say it again for all the folks at home. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have loved bringing you random top 10 lists and useless trivia every week now for about 7 years and, 300 episodes. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. To be honest, I don't know what the future holds. I'll tell you more about what I mean by that in a separate brief update that I'll post to the podcast feed in the next day or so. But for now, I'll just say that, while I don't know what the future holds, I know that I'm glad we made it this far, and I know we'll make it even further in the future. Well, as long as Dr. Buster's booty clap doesn't wipe out the solar system in the meantime. If you want to reach me, I would love to hear from you. Send me an email anytime at 10ishpod@gmail.com or shoot me a message on social media. I'm on all social media platforms at 10ishpod. That's 10ishpod. Links are in the show notes. It's time to wrap this up. In closing, thank you again, and we'll do this again for episode 3000 in 100 years. Bye.